If you've ever stood at a gas station and wondered why some vehicles use gasoline while others use diesel, you're not alone. Both fuels come from crude oil, both power millions of vehicles around the world, and both make engines go. But despite those similarities, diesel and gasoline are actually quite different in how they're made, how they burn, and how they affect vehicle performance. For decades, drivers have debated which is better. Some swear by diesel's fuel efficiency and durability, while others prefer the smoother and quieter experience of gasoline engines. So what's the real difference between diesel and gasoline, and why does it matter? Today we're diving into the history, science, and engineering behind these two fuels to find out, right here on History of Simple Things. The story begins in the late 1800s. Gasoline-powered engines became popular thanks to inventors such as Carl Benz, whose automobiles helped launch the modern car industry. Around the same time, another engineer named Rudolf Diesel was working on a different idea. He believed engines could be made far more efficient. In 1897, he successfully demonstrated the first practical diesel engine, which used compression rather than spark plugs to ignite fuel. At first, diesel engines were mainly used in factories, ships, and heavy machinery because of their strength and efficiency. Over time, they found their way into trucks, buses, trains, and eventually passenger cars. Today, both gasoline and diesel remain important fuels, each serving different purposes. One of the biggest misconceptions is that diesel and gasoline are completely different substances. In reality, both originate from crude oil. When crude oil arrives at a refinery, it is heated and separated into various products through a process called fractional distillation. Different hydrocarbons boil at different temperatures, allowing refineries to separate them into gasoline, diesel, kerosene, jet fuel, and other products. Gasoline is a lighter fraction. It evaporates more easily and burns quickly. Diesel is a heavier fraction. It contains larger hydrocarbon molecules and evaporates less readily. This difference in chemical composition is what gives each fuel its unique characteristics and determines how the engine must be designed to use it. The most important distinction between gasoline and diesel lies in the way the fuel is ignited. Gasoline engines use spark plugs. Air and fuel are mixed together inside the cylinder, compressed and then ignited by an electrical spark. The resulting explosion pushes the piston downward and generates power. Diesel engines work differently. They don't need spark plugs to ignite the fuel. Instead, they compress air to an extremely high pressure. This compression raises the air temperature so much that when diesel fuel is injected into the cylinder, it ignites automatically. Think of it this way. A gasoline engine needs a match to start the fire. A diesel engine creates so much heat through compression that the fuel catches fire on its own. This fundamental difference affects everything else about the engine. One reason diesel engines have remained popular for more than a century is their remarkable efficiency. Because diesel engines operate at much higher compression ratios, they extract more energy from every drop of fuel. Diesel fuel itself also contains slightly more energy per liter than gasoline. As a result, diesel vehicles often travel farther on the same amount of fuel. This is why long-haul trucks, cargo ships, and many commercial vehicles rely heavily on diesel engines. For businesses operating fleets, even a small improvement in fuel economy can save enormous amounts of money over thousands of kilometers. When comparing performance, diesel and gasoline engines have different strengths. Diesel engines are known for producing high torque. Torque is the twisting force that helps move heavy loads. That's why diesel engines are commonly found in pickup trucks, construction equipment, tractors, and large commercial vehicles. Gasoline engines, on the other hand, generally excel at higher engine speeds. They can rev faster and often produce more horsepower relative to their size. Imagine riding a bicycle. Torque is like the strength needed to start moving a heavy trailer, while horsepower is like the ability to pedal very fast once you're already moving. Different tasks benefit from different characteristics. Historically, diesel engines earned a reputation for being loud and rough. The rapid ignition of diesel fuel created the familiar knocking sound associated with older diesel vehicles. They also tended to vibrate more because of their heavier internal components and higher compression pressures. Gasoline engines usually operate more quietly and smoothly. This smoother driving experience is one reason gasoline-powered passenger cars became dominant in many parts of the world. Modern diesel technology has significantly reduced noise and vibration, but gasoline engines still generally maintain an advantage in overall refinement. The environmental picture is more complicated than many people realize. Diesel engines typically produce less carbon dioxide per kilometer because they use fuel more efficiently. However, they can generate higher levels of nitrogen oxides and tiny particles known as particulate matter. To address this issue, modern diesel vehicles use sophisticated emission control systems such as diesel particulate filters and selective catalytic reduction systems. Gasoline engines generally produce fewer particulates but may consume more fuel for the same amount of work. As emissions regulations have become stricter worldwide, both gasoline and diesel technologies have evolved dramatically to reduce their environmental impact. If diesel has drawbacks, why do so many trucks still use it? The answer comes down to durability and torque. Diesel engines are built to withstand extremely high compression pressures. Their components are often stronger and heavier than those found in gasoline engines. This allows many diesel engines to operate reliably for hundreds of thousands or even millions of kilometers when properly maintained. For hauling cargo, towing trailers, and operating heavy equipment, that combination of efficiency, torque, and longevity is hard to beat. So what's the real difference between diesel and gasoline? Although both originate from crude oil, they differ in chemical composition, ignition method, efficiency, performance characteristics, and engine design. Gasoline engines rely on spark plugs and are generally smoother and quicker revving. Diesel engines use compression ignition, deliver more torque, and extract more energy from their fuel. Neither fuel is universally better. It depends entirely on the job. If you need a vehicle for everyday commuting and smooth driving, gasoline often makes sense. If you need efficiency, heavy-duty capability, and long-distance hauling power, diesel remains a compelling choice. The next time you see those separate fuel pumps at a gas station, you'll know that they represent two very different engineering philosophies, both designed to turn liquid fuel into motion, but in remarkably different ways. Thank you for watching. If you have suggestions for our next video, feel free to share them in the comments below. We'll be sure to give you an acknowledgement for your contribution. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the history of simple things. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more stories woven through the smallest details.